Representative Spencer Wetmore, and it is my honor to represent the House District 115, which includes Folly Beach, where this incredible discovery took place. And so this is near and dear to me because I actually live in the neighborhood in Folly where this was found. And in fact, Robert and I were just talking today, and he was telling me that he thinks if we ran a metal detector in my backyard, we might find a few more things. So it is my absolute honor and pleasure. And thank you so much, Governor McMaster, for being here with us today. It really just makes this all the more special. So if I could, I'd love to take a minute and just talk a little bit about the accomplishment, and then I'll welcome Governor McMaster up here for the awards presentation. So this actually dates back to 1989 when they were putting in a new residential area on Folly. As I mentioned, I'm proud to call it home today. But at the time, they had the bulldozers and everything is out there. And Mr. Bohrn was, very much, he had been, I think already had some recognition in your work and doing some archaeological work and relic finding. My own father actually is a relic collector up in Sumter, so that already jumped out to me as something really special about this story. And so, as a lot of our relic, collectors are doing, they're looking for the buttons and the artifacts. And lo and behold, they turned up the bones. And so the graves of 19 African-American soldiers. They were Union soldiers who were down on Folly Beach, made famous. The Massachusetts 54th was the sister organization, made famous in the movie Glory. And so it's so special to have that piece of history right there in our backyard. And these were the Massachusetts 55th soldiers who were in charge of working on all the base clearing and a lot of the work on Fort Wagner there on Folly in Charleston. So I think that about covers it. And without further ado, it is my honor to welcome Governor McMaster to award the Silver Crescent.
And thank you, ma'am. I'll be happy to do so. And thank all y'all for coming. And you mentioned the fact that we have history right here in our backyard, Ms. Whitmore. We have history in everybody's backyard in our state. I like to remind, sometimes when I get to go around different states, other parts of the country, there's some states that are brand new compared to us, because we go back to the beginning. And one thing I will say to you, because I always say it to everyone, because I want people to know it, is when these big businesses from around the world are looking for a place to go, you've noticed that more and more are coming to South Carolina. That is because they have discovered the culture of South Carolina. We go way back, according to Walter Edgar. All of us at one point or another, when the state was younger, had come from 9 European countries, 11 African nations, and 41 Native American or Indian nations. So and over the years, starting in 1670, we've been in every battle. We fought everything, including hurricanes, snakes, fires, earthquakes, and the Charleston earthquake shook them in New York. So we've been through everything, and that's why the people around the world, when they're risking billions of dollars in an economic enterprise, they want the people of South Carolina doing that work. And I'm sure that they are thinking of you, among others, when they are thinking that, because along with our history is the history of the culinary arts in South Carolina are thriving. People speak of the treats, the foods, the dishes. We're quite famous. Charleston, of course, has been the #1 tourist attraction according to various magazines in the country numerous times, in the world several times. And then you combine that with that, which is a part of our culture, with our history, and you have a fascinating place that I believe is unsurpassed anywhere in the country. So, Robert, what you have done is you have added to both of those things, both the culture with the food as well as the history part of our culture. And in reading the recommendations and the accomplishments I won't go into all of those now because I think your friends here know them. But you're quite deserving of this recognition, which is something, by the way, that you can't buy. There's no price. You don't apply for it. People recommend you for it based on what they know, and we have a process that we go through. And if those meet the level, we have an Order of the Silver Crescent for a certain extraordinary task in a particular area or two, or an enterprise or a discipline. And then we have an Order of the Palmetto that encompasses a larger geographic area. But this is the top. And on behalf of those citizens of South Carolina, after thorough review, consideration, and confirmation, I'm happy to present this to Robert Bohrn, and I will read it now. It says, in the state of South Carolina, in recognition of the dedication, commitment, and leadership for the benefit of South Carolina and her citizens, I do hereby confer upon Robert E. Bohrn, Jr., the Order of the Silver Crescent, signed by me, Henry McMaster, your proud, happy governor, on behalf of about 5.1 proud, happy South Carolinians. There you go.
Well,
we
thank you so much. I am really honored.
Would you like to say?
Sure, I'll say a few words. Well, for most of you that know me, you're all going, really? First of all, I'd like to thank Governor McMaster for this wonderful award. It's a lifetime achievement as far as I'm concerned. Representative Wetmore, you have spearheaded this to no end, and I will never be able to repay you for what you've done. Because this, being a South Carolinian and loving my state as I do, to me this is the highest honor I could ever achieve. One of the best days of my life. Of course, there's other people I need to thank. My family, which is hiding somewhere. Connie Brailsford, my fiance, who worked tireless for this as well. And the landowners who gave me permission to search for artifacts on their properties. And really mostly to Dr. Candy Hale, is the gentleman that got me started with a metal detector in 1971. So we have been friends for 50 years. Not only did he teach me the history of South Carolina, but he taught me how to be a man. He taught me right from wrong. And this was at a time my father was deceased. So he took me under his wing and gave me the life that I have today. And I'm forever grateful to him. I'll try to make this short and sweet with, 12 paragraphs. At the age of 5, I made my first trip to Colonial Williamsburg. My father was a graduate of William and Mary. And I saw the artifacts that they had on display there. The head archaeologist was Ivor Noel Hume, who has written 20 some odd books on archaeology. He's the father of historic archaeology in the world. He's deceased. But when I saw the artifacts that he found, I was absolutely hooked. Then we moved to James Island, Folly Beach area, and my mother, we all got one, insisted that we have antique bottles to put in our windows. So I was like, okay, bottles, window, got it. And I proceeded to fill the house full of bottles. South Carolina dispensaries, 18th century bottles. And the first one I ever found, I stepped on it. I didn't see it, but I found it with my foot. So it was a very auspicious beginning to where I've gotten today. Again, my mother was widowed, and I don't know how she did it, but she came up with the money working a job with Miss Hip over here, her mother, for not very much money and bought me a metal detector. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. And I'm forever grateful to her for putting the gift of history into my hands. Growing up on James Island and Folly Beach, I was in an historical playground. And I was fortunate enough to be able to dig on Folly Beach behind construction. And we started to excavate buttons that were very much corroded. Still had pieces of uniforms stuck to them. So after about the third hole, there was a femur. And I stopped. Put the femur back in the ground, went home. That night it rained. And not only did it rain, I think I drank a lot of beer that night because finding a human being was not what I was after. So went back the next morning after the rainstorm, and there were toe bones, a patella, some rib bones on top of the ground. So at that point, I thought that it could be a Native American, it could have been a soldier, it could have been a crime victim. I didn't know at that time. So I had noticed when I was picking up these remains that there were people jogging through there with their dogs. So I was like, I better pick these bones up, and I'll go over here, and I'll dig a hole and place whomever this was in the ground. So after the second shovel strike into the ground, I hit something very hard. And I pried the shovel blade up, and there were 4 vertebrae with a piece of uniform and a button. So by randomly digging a hole, I found a soldier. I put him back in the ground, went home, and as much as I love history, history is everything to me, especially South Carolina history. You have to figure out what you're going to do. So I called the South Carolina the Archaeology and Anthropology Department, and I got the Deputy State Archaeologist on the phone. And I said, well, I found some bones in a Union camp, and I'm digging uniform parts. And he said to me, "Are you sure it's not a cow?" And I said, just as dry as I could, "I've never seen a cow wear a Yankee uniform." So he took me seriously. They came down, scouted the area, and for 2 weeks, we excavated 19 soldiers. At that time, we didn't know if they were African American. We didn't know if they were from New York or Pennsylvania. But after a lot of research, found out that they were an African American unit that was stationed in Charleston, which made it extremely unique. Worked with them at that, worked on some publications for them. These soldiers were reburied with full military honors in the Beaufort National Cemetery, which coincidentally, my father, who died when I was 11, is buried there. And also, my stepfather is buried there, and my mother resides there. So they are in good company. So I've always felt that God put me in that place to find those soldiers. They weren't lost, they were found, and their story has been told, because it's a very important part of not only South Carolina's history, but to our nation's history. It's one thing to find the artifacts that they lose, the bullets, the buttons, the belt buckles, the bottles, but to find the soldier that lost them is a totally different thing. So they got their just reward, and as far as I'm concerned, Governor, this award is for those soldiers that gave the last full measure, not only to their country, but to their race. So thank you so much on their behalf, on my behalf. Thank you so much, Spencer. You have been wonderful. Again, might switch parties. But this is an honor that it's got to be one of the greatest days of my life. So thank you all very much for showing up and listening to this drivel.
thank you all again, and congratulations. I am just so pleased to be part of this and honored. So thank you to the governor for this wonderful and incredible award, and congratulations on this achievement.
Thank you so much.
You're
God bless you.
welcome. Take care.